They always tell you not to panic. Remain calm, they say, even when the building's on fire, even when the ground's cracking under your feet. They want you still, numb, predictable. Because calm people don't ask questions. Calm people don't tear down walls. Calm people don't realize they've been sitting in a theater their whole life, watching a script someone else wrote, clapping when told, laughing on cue, sleeping with their eyes open. But what happens when the curtains slip just a little? What happens when you see the wires, the trap doors, the actors forgetting their lines? It's not a show anymore. It's a confession. You want to know why the truth gets ignored? Because it's inconvenient. It doesn't dance to your rhythm or stroke your ego. It slaps you awake at 3 a.m. and stares you down until you can't sleep anymore. The truth doesn't care how well behaved you've been, or how many gold stars you collected in school, or how politely you followed the rules. The truth laughs at your participation trophy. It exposes how you've traded your instincts for instructions. And the moment it shows its face, you look the other way. Pretend it's just noise, just static, something you can mute. They didn't need to hide it. No smoke and mirrors required. All they had to do was convince you not to look. They trained you to doubt your gut, ridicule your curiosity, fear your own mind. They gave you a script, handed it to you in kindergarten, and made sure you recited it until your voice cracked. Study hard, obey, get a job, smile for the camera, stay in line, and above all, don't ask questions that make people uncomfortable. Because uncomfortable people start waking up, and wide-awake minds, well, those are dangerous. Now, let me tell you what's really hilarious. People scream about wanting to be free. They post about it, tattoo it on their skin, fight wars over it. But when freedom actually knocks, it doesn't come wrapped in flags or fireworks. It comes holding a mirror, and in that mirror, all the things you've ignored. The truth about your addictions, your distractions, your silent sellouts. That mirror is heavy. Most drop it before they even get a glimpse. You ever notice how people would rather fight about who's wrong than confront what's real? Debate symptoms, never the disease. You'll scroll for hours about celebrities and gossip and some influencer's morning routine, but can't sit in silence with your own thoughts for 5 minutes without reaching for another hit of digital anesthesia. That's not by accident. That's programming. You were trained to be reactive, not reflective, emotional, not rational, entertained, not enlightened. Because the moment you start really seeing, the whole damn game starts to collapse. The way they sold you dreams just to keep you asleep. The way they built entire empires off your fear of being different. The way your pain was turned into profit. Truth is, they didn't have to silence everyone, just convince you to silence yourself, to censor your own thoughts, to mock your own voice, to laugh at the warning signs as conspiracy and call obedience maturity. And isn't that clever? You're not shackled, not in the traditional sense. You walk freely in your cage, decorate it, even brag about its features. But take one step outside it, speak one inconvenient truth, and watch how quickly the world turns cold. Suddenly, you're unstable, problematic, a threat. Because truth, once spoken out loud, has a nasty habit of infecting the silence around it. You think truth is supposed to make you feel good. Think again. It doesn't coddle you, it breaks you. Tears off the layers you thought were you. It shows you how many times you betrayed yourself just to fit into someone else's mold. That's why they don't need to hide it. It hurts too much to look at. It's like staring at the sun, so you look away. Everyone does. Pretend it's not there. Pretend the heat doesn't burn. Pretend that everything's fine. But there's something sinister about pretending. Eventually, the mask fuses with your skin. You forget you're wearing it. And by the time the truth finally forces itself into your life, when the lies no longer hold, when the cracks grow too wide, you won't recognize yourself anymore. You'll scream for help, not realizing the prison was never physical. It was built in your mind, one comfortable little lie at a time. They throw scandals at you like candy. Drama, division, another trending outrage. Left versus right, rich versus poor, masked versus unmasked, man versus woman, believer versus skeptic. Pick a side, fight like hell. Forget the fact that you didn't choose the game. Forget that both teams were built by the same architect. You've been so busy pointing fingers, you didn't notice the walls closing in. You ever see a dog chase its own tail? Round and round, growling, barking, thinking it's making progress. That's you. That's most of them, screaming at shadows while the real puppeteers sit quietly behind velvet curtains, sipping wine and laughing softly. Because chaos is the oldest sleight of hand in the book. Make the noise loud enough, and no one hears the key turning in the lock. They don't want your clarity. No, clarity is dangerous. It makes you ask questions. It makes you pause. They want your attention always. They want you emotionally fried, mentally exhausted, spiritually bankrupt. Why? Because people in survival mode don't rebel. They comply. They bow. They accept. They scroll until their eyes bleed and say, well, that's just how it is. They don't escape because they forgot they were captured in the first place. It's not that you're blind. You were taught not to look. Taught that keeping up with headlines is wisdom. That being outraged makes you informed. That reacting is power. But chaos is a drug. Once it's in your bloodstream, you crave it. Peace feels boring. Silence feels wrong. Stillness feels like failure. They don't need you to love the cage, just to forget it's there. Fill your time with noise, your brain with dopamine hits, your heart with fear, and boom, you're hooked. Meanwhile, the cage gets smarter, smaller, sleeker. Invisible bars built from your own habits. You willingly carry it in your pocket. You update it. You charge it every night, and you defend it like it's a part of your soul. Every swipe, every click, every like, another lock, another bar, another bar, another bar. You think you're choosing, but you're reacting. You think you're free, but your mind's been rented out by architects you'll never meet. And here's the sickest part. They convince you that chaos is your duty, your moral obligation. That if you're not angry, you're the problem. That if you're not posting, you're complicit. That if you're not loudly drowning in it all, you're heartless. So you dive back into the storm, proud to be a part of the madness, not realizing it's all a loop, a treadmill, a carefully curated rage simulator that never ends, never resolves, just keeps spinning, spinning, spinning. But while you're lost in that spin, did you ever wonder, what are you not seeing? What are they doing behind the noise? Who benefits from your distraction? What quiet moves are being made while you scream into the void? Because while you were busy watching the fireworks, they were building fences. While you fought strangers online, they signed contracts you'll never read. While you debated nonsense, they erased the blueprint of your future and handed you a script. And the cage? Oh, it's there. But now it looks like opportunity. It looks like safety. It looks like achievement. Work more. Own more. Be more. Just don't stop. Don't think. Don't question. Just keep dancing in the chaos. Because the moment you sit down and listen to your own thoughts, you'll hear the lock click. You'll realize you were never free. You just had a better view of the walls than the others. They dress it all up in glitter and call it freedom. Flashing lights, catchy sounds, pixelated dopamine drips straight to your skull. You've got a screen in your hand, 1,000 voices in your ear, and yet somehow nothing real ever sticks. That's the masterpiece. They flood you with stimulation so you forget to look for revelation. Who needs truth when you've got spectacle? Who wants depth when the surface is constantly updated? See, being entertained doesn't require effort, doesn't demand thought, doesn't force you to feel the uncomfortable sting of awareness, but enlightenment. Now that's a dangerous little spark, isn't it? That's when you start seeing through the masks, hearing the silence between the words, realizing that most of the noise was just there to stop you from thinking. Because if you ever really thought, if you ever slowed down long enough to see, you'd realize you've been sitting in a cage wrapped in fairy lights. They spoon-feed you heroes and villains. Stories where everything's easy, everything's obvious, everything's safe. Look here, they say. This is the bad guy. Boo him. Hate him. Laugh at him. This is the hero. Cheer for her. Worship her. Follow her. But it's a puppet show. Strings on every wrist, scripts in every hand, and not one of them wrote their own lines. But you clap, you cry, you laugh, and you never once ask who's writing the story. They've made you allergic to silence, allergic to boredom. Sit alone in a room and you twitch. Reach for your phone, open an app, scroll, scroll, scroll. Because silence might let you hear something they don't want you to hear, your own thoughts. And your thoughts left alone begin to wonder, begin to ask, begin to rebel. But not if you're constantly entertained, not if you're numbed by content that's faster, louder, brighter, emptier. You were never meant to be still, not to them. Stillness is rebellion. Reflection is treason. Enlightenment? That's the death of the whole show. Because once you're awake, the circus stops being fun. The clowns aren't funny. The acrobats look desperate. The ringmaster's smile feels forced. And the crowd, they look just like you, tired, hungry for something real, but too afraid to leave the tent. They gave you more channels, more choices, more shows, but they all play the same tune. Different costumes, same script. It's all a loop. Over and over and over again. 1,000 headlines that say nothing. 1,000,000 opinions that lead nowhere. You can argue for hours and still end up right where you started. Dizzy, confused, distracted, exactly how they want you. Because the moment you start chasing knowledge instead of noise, they lose. The second you choose wisdom over hype, the whole machine stutters. You stop buying what they're selling. You stop worshiping what they promote. You start digging, questioning, dismantling, and that scares them because an entertained mind is manageable. But an enlightened mind, that's unpredictable. That's uncontrollable. They don't want philosophers, seekers, rebels. They want consumers, scrollers, commenters. People who think passion is measured in likes and wisdom comes in 15-second clips. They want you laughing at memes instead of studying history. Crying at reality shows instead of facing your own reality. Worshipping celebrities instead of becoming someone worth worshiping. Because if you ever realized what you could be, what you were built for, what they've stolen from you through distraction, you'd burn the whole system to the ground. They built a playground and told you it was a kingdom. They gave you games and told you it was purpose. They filled your mind with trivia and called it intelligence. Meanwhile, the thinkers, they rot in silence. The teachers, they whisper into voids. The truth, it sits in the corner, ignored, gathering dust, because truth isn't viral. It doesn't trend. It doesn't come with neon lights and a laugh track. It's quiet. It's slow. It's hard. But it's real. And that's the biggest joke, isn't it? That everything you thought was harmless, entertaining, relaxing, was actually the cage. You laughed yourself into submission, danced yourself into distraction, watched your potential bleed out in between sitcoms and scandal updates. They gave you everything but what you needed most, yourself. Not the version they sold you, not the profile, not the filtered smile, not the performance. The raw, unedited version that thinks too deeply, feels too much, questions everything, and can't be entertained into obedience. You ever notice how the most dangerous thing isn't the wound? It's the bandage? Pain screams. Yeah, it claws and bites and breaks your breath, but at least it tells the truth. It's honest. It's raw. But comfort? Oh, comfort smiles while it poisons, whispers sweet nothings while it rots you from the inside out. It wraps you in soft blankets while stealing every sharp edge you ever had. It tells you to sit down, stay still, don't fight. You're fine. You're safe. And that's how it kills you. Slowly, quietly, without ever having to raise its voice. Pain, though, pain doesn't lie. It doesn't pretend. It kicks in the door and demands attention. It shows you exactly what's broken, exactly where the cracks are. And if you're smart, if you're just a little bit awake, you'll listen. Because buried inside every bruise, every sleepless night, every betrayal and breakdown is a lesson that no teacher could ever offer. Pain shapes you, molds you, turns you from clay into steel, but only if you stop running from it. They'll tell you to numb it, bury it, ignore it, pop a pill, take a drink, scroll some more. Anything to make sure you don't actually feel it. Because if you feel it, you might start asking questions. You might start wondering why it's there, what it's trying to say, what it's pushing you toward. And that, oh boy, that would be a problem. Because pain, real pain, is evolution. It's transformation. But that only happens if you stay awake long enough to hear the message. Comfort doesn't want you to grow. Comfort wants you to sleep. It wants you stuck in the same place, doing the same things with the same people, thinking the same thoughts, feeling nothing new. It gives you just enough pleasure to keep you from revolting, just enough ease to silence the scream in your gut. It numbs the fire in your chest, but the fire was never the enemy. The fire was the signal, the alarm, the engine, the map. And here's the punchline. It's the pain that was saving you. The tears were necessary. The breakdown was divine. The chaos was sacred. You thought it was punishment, but it was preparation. You thought it was the end, but it was the beginning. Every time you were shattered, you got closer to seeing what you're really made of. But you ran, again and again, straight back into the arms of comfort, back into fake smiles, easy lies, numb routines, back into the illusion. And the illusion is cozy, sure. It feels like safety. But it's just a padded cell with better lighting. You can't evolve in comfort. You can't be great and be cozy at the same time. You want to know why the people who shine the brightest are always a little broken, a little off. Because they stopped trying to escape the pain. They sat in it, bathed in it. Everyone wants to be free, but no one wants to bleed for it. They want strength without scars, wisdom without wounds, fire without heat. It doesn't work like that. The price of purpose is pain. And if you're not paying it, you're just wasting time, wasting your life decorating a prison cell, hanging curtains over your suffering, singing lullabies to the monster under your bed, pretending the cracks in your soul are just quirky little traits instead of battle cries waiting to be heard. But there's beauty in the breakdown. There's art in the agony. There's a divine blueprint hidden in the bruises. Because pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you, to strip away everything fake, everything small, everything you were never meant to carry. But only if you stop numbing it. Only if you stop chasing comfort like it's salvation. Because comfort doesn't care about your soul. It only cares about control. It wants to keep you weak, small, quiet. But pain wants you to rise. The truth is, you can't find yourself in comfort. You can't become something greater when everything around you is built to keep you the same. The real you is buried under layers of lies, lies told by comfort, lies that say, you're not ready. It's too late. Just be grateful. Don't rock the boat. Lies wrapped in blankets and smiles and fake peace. But pain doesn't lie like that. Pain rips the mask off, shoves the mirror in your face, screams, look, while the world tells you to turn away. And if you're brave enough to look, if you're insane enough to listen, well, then you'll see what most never will. So they call you crazy now, huh? That's rich, that's hilarious, that's their favorite little trick, isn't it? See someone stepping out of the line, asking questions, peeling back the curtain, and bam, slap a label on them. Delusional, paranoid, dramatic, crazy. Oh, it's not that you're seeing too much, no, it's that you must be broken, damaged, unstable. Because God forbids someone. You feel it, don't you? That burn in your chest. That nagging whisper that something isn't right. That itch behind your eyes like there's something you're supposed to remember. And when you try to speak it, when you dare to say, I think the world's a little off, they all look at you like you've grown a third eye, like you're diseased, like you're dangerous, and maybe you are. Dangerous to the dream they've built, the illusion they protect, the story they've been spoon-fed and now can't live without.